Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater Channel Art. I have a cool new 5G cellular router here that answers a lot of questions that people have been having about how do I get a better signal, or how do I go traveling with this, with an RV, a camper, that kind of thing. And this is an outdoor unit, and it has a couple other key features I really want to go over, and I'll talk to you about the speed of it and all the features that it has. Now, in the box that you get, it comes with a unit. It comes with this L bracket with the screws that go into it. And then for this L bracket, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it does give you a nice flat surface that then you can attach this to a wall or whatnot. But it also comes with little U bolts that allow you to go to a standard pole mount that is common for antennas on the outside of buildings or RVs or whatnot. And then it comes with a Ethernet cable, and it comes with a power over Ethernet adapter or injector. And what this does is this, if you're not familiar with it, is the device actually gets its power from the Ethernet cord. So you don't have another cord to run. You don't have antenna wires to run outside. You literally take a cord, and this one's already open, and this plugs into the bottom of the unit right here. And that's the only cord that has to go outside. So that's really awesome for routing it outside of an RV. You know, as far as having to drill a hole through the RV, you only have to drill one big enough for a Ethernet cable. And if you have a crimper tool, you only have to drill it big enough to get the actual cable through, and not even the connector through. And that's true for a home too. So if you wanted to put this outside at your house and you don't want to route the antenna wires or cables, which are typically much thicker, you can get away with running just a single Ethernet cable. And the other benefit to that is that you don't get a signal loss with this Ethernet cable, because the antennas are directly onto this unit. So the antennas on this are really sort of similar to the stock gateways in that it's 4 antennas, so it's a 4x4 MIMO setup, but they're omnidirectional. And so that's why I say this is really probably more for the RVers and campers, is because with it being omnidirectional, that means that obviously they get signal in all directions, and so it doesn't really matter where the tower is located. The downside of that is that you're not orienting the antennas all at one direction, and so you give up a little bit of signal or speed there. Alright, there's a couple other pieces in here, and that is this is the grommet that allows you to have a weather-tight seal for your Ethernet cable. So to make that happen, you just route this through here. You have this split grommet that you just go around your cabling, and then that goes into this piece here. And what it does is when you go to tighten down this, it keeps squeezing on the cable until it's sealed and it's weather tight. So you just keep turning this down, and then eventually you're going to have a super tight seal onto that cable. And then this gets threaded in to the base of the unit right here, and again, that's the only connection you have. Now the other thing that they have here is this little block off plate, which has a rubber seal. I have it off right now, but that is right here, and that's what your SIM card goes into. And it also does have I guess a reset button, I think, is in there, and then it does have a USB-C port. That USB-C port actually can provide power to the unit if you wanted to, but again, that wouldn't be sealed from the weather, or at least the way the cover is designed. So, but that one can take like a 5-volt 3-amp input, and you can power the unit that way. If, for example, you're doing testing in your house and you don't want the power over Ethernet injector in there. But so once you plug this into the wall, then you would take the one cord that would go to the PoE side, and that would go to this unit, and then out of this side is the LAN unit. So this is when you would connect your own personal router to this side. And I say you connect your own personal router to that because you can connect a computer or something directly to it, but this does not have Wi-Fi built into it, at least from a standpoint of for anything other than configuration and testing. So it has a 2.4 gigahertz only Wi-Fi, but it is really designed for just setup and configuration and those kind of settings, so you can have your phone or laptop and be connected to it directly. But it's very slow in speed. I think it was like 12 megabits per second or something was the top speed I was able to get out of that ever. So, and it's a low range, so it's not a high output. I would not treat this as a Wi-Fi router by any means. It's really designed to be a modem, and then you hook up your own router to it, and that's really what a lot of people want anyways. So from that standpoint, it's awesome. And then the other thing it has on the bottom side here is it has a couple lights. It has, I guess, 8 lights in there, and one of them is power, one is if the SIM's on, the other one is if the Ethernet's connected, and the last one is if it's actually powered up and running. And then on the top, the 4 are there for your signal strength, so it gives you, basically how many bars of signal you have. Alright, on the top of this unit is the sticker. Now, that's a big flaw in my opinion, because this is a terrible place to put the sticker on the outdoor unit with it facing the sun, but that is where it's at. So I would encourage you, before you forget, to take a picture of this or write this down, or even take the sticker off, because I don't think it'll last if this thing's outside for that long. So what this gives you is the default Wi-Fi name, Wi-Fi password, the login password for the admin web portal, and then it also has the device's IMEI and serial number. So all those are really important things to have and keep track of, and they're not going to last on the outside of this unit, so take that off. But the other thing that I want to go through is some of the settings that it has. Now, if you follow my channel, you've seen another recent router that I've had. It's an indoor unit, and Chester Tech Repairs sells that one as 2. I call that one the Cheetah. I call this one the Bucket because it kind of looks like a trash can bucket, and the T-Mobile gray Nokia one is kind of nicknamed the trash can. So anyways, this is the Bucket, and for this one it has the exact same interface as the other Chester device, the Cheetah device, and we'll go through that now to show you that it can do band locking, it can do different things like 5G SA that you cannot get with a lot of other routers. You can also quite easily change or repair, revise the IMEI if you need to. And speed wise, I went up there and I compared this to my T-Mobile Arcadian KVD21 gateway, just stock sitting up there, and I was getting 114 megabits per second down and 19.2 up. And then with this Bucket, exact same time, same devices hooked up to it for testing, using the same speedtest.net app to do that. I got 145 down and 11.8 up. So that means my download was a little bit faster than the stock Arcadian one, but my upload was a bit slower. So a little bit of a trade-off there. And that was with this guy on B2, B66, and N41. And so I've had this aggregate up to 4 different signals, I believe. I think it can technically do 5 for the download. But for this one, I had those 3 bands that were aggregated. And I also switched it to hop off of N41 because I know I can get faster upload if I do N71. And when I did that, I got 77.4 down, 25 megabits per second up with this unit. And so what it tells me is, this unit I would say is at least comparable to the T-Mobile stock gateway, and in many cases it should be better, and that's because you can actually adjust which bands you're on, and you can pick and choose, and I'm able to oftentimes pick if I want to prefer upload, or maybe I know one band is actually better for ping, and then another configuration might be better for downloading. So you can adjust that and configure that yourself. It has a lot more capabilities out there, and I know they're working on firmware updates and capability updates as we speak. And one thing that it can do right now out of the box is like do the N41 aggregation, where it can actually take 2 N41 signals and aggregate them together. But your tower needs to support that. My tower personally does not support that, so it can't. I can't show that at least here. but that is something that this unit can do. So I would easily pick this unit here over the stock units from a speed and capability, band locking, all these other types of features. But what I will say is, from my testing, it does not seem to be as fast as the Chester indoor unit, which I'm calling the Cheetah. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, because I think they have the same modem, but for some reason this one seems to be a little bit less capable there from a speed standpoint, and perhaps it's the antenna array in there that has them facing all around in a circle versus the Cheetah unit has them straight across. But what this does have an advantage is that you can very easily put this one outside. In order to do that on the Cheetah unit, you have to hook up external antennas, and so it's just a little bit more complicated of a fashion to do that. So in some cases, this one would be faster and better and easier, because you could easily stick this outside and have just the Ethernet cable going through indoors to where your own personal router is. And again, just remember, this does not really have Wi-Fi capability, so if you get this, you do need to plan to have your own personal Wi-Fi router to really spread that signal out wherever you need it. Alright, so let's hop in and look at some of the features on the web GUI. Okay, so now what I did was I connected to the Wi-Fi signal, which is 5G_CPE, and then the password is 123456789. By default, you can of course change those in there, but this lets me quickly get in there to adjust these settings, and the Wi-Fi works fine for that, especially within close range. But what we can see here is that it tells me, some of the basic system information and cellular information. You can see I just turned it on a couple minutes ago. And what we can do is you can go in here to the network. This is where you can change the SSID or turn off the Wi-Fi if you wanted to. You can change if it has DHCP on or off. If you don't know what that is, it's probably best not to mess with it, but it does give you the ability to turn that kind of stuff off if you have your own router and you know how to set that up properly. I won't go into that specifically in this video. It does support IPv6, so you can obviously have that on and allow that to happen. If you want a custom DNS server, you can set that up here, or you can set that up on your own router as well. As far as VPN, you can turn that on and get that activated. It has 0-tier. It does have some smart QoS. I really haven't messed with that to see how effective it is, but this QoS is quality of service, and this should be trying to help manage multiple users. But again, with this device, you're really going to be going through another router either way, so typically I would say use that on your own personal router anyways. And then it does support DDNS and some of these other features there, but really the meat of it is we want to look at this 5G stuff. So this is the page that shows you kind of a high level. It's really not that great. So this is a T-Mobile home internet SIM that is in there. Sorry, it's actually a T-Mobile business SIM that's in there, and you can see I'm on band N71 down here. I'm in my basement, so I don't get the best signal. I'm actually on a booster. Alright, so then there's the APN tab, and this just tells you a couple details about your mobile network and does allow you to set a custom APN for T-Mobile. You don't need to change that. You can just leave it in the auto setting and it will work. For network mode, the search mode is if it wants to be in 5G mode or LTE mode. I leave that one in auto, but if for some reason you wanted to force LTE, you certainly could do that. For 5G network mode, it defaults to auto. I typically have them come in here and I change it to NSA, which is non-standalone, and that's really because 5G SA should be getting better, and it should be like faster ping and stuff than non-standalone. But for me personally, at my house, my SA is actually slower, at least right now it is, than my NSA, so I do force mine over to NSA before I try to connect. The next tab now is the band locking, and this is where you can uncheck specific bands that you do not want to connect to, and that's really useful for if you're on a certain band and it's always slow or crappy, you can just uncheck and say don't connect to it anymore. So that one I would encourage you to experiment with, because you might be surprised if you uncheck maybe the band that you typically connect to. You can actually improve your speed or your ping or whatnot by unchecking it. So that's one way to do that. The other thing they have for locking is a cell lock. So I think this, in theory, would allow you to lock to a specific tower. I haven't messed with that to make sure I know exactly how that works, but that's something I want to look into for how to do tower locking. TTL settings, again, you don't need to change this at all for T-Mobile home internet. And then AT commands, these are commands that you do need to send. Is probably one of my gripes about this, is that I really wish it would give you an easy way to see all of your cell metrics. It's not. I mean, it's easy once you get used to it, but you do have to manually type in AT plus QCA info, and what that stands for is query carrier aggregation information. And so you can see down here in my basement, I'm actually on N41, N71, and band 66. So it's aggregating all that stuff together to give you the best speed. So that's really cool about these devices, is just seeing, like I said, I've seen 4, I think, bands on there all stacked up before, so really cool. Now security, it does have some parental controls and firewall that it does, but again, you really, I would say, would use this as just a modem and send all the data over to your personal router to have it do firewall and any kind of scheduling and parental controls. So that's really kind of the gist of what this provides. The other ones are just maintenance, firmware updates, that kind of stuff. But not a crazy ton of settings in here, and I think that's perfectly fine if you are using this really as a modem. This is all you do need to have in there.